The silence in the crowded restaurant was deafening. Forks froze midair, conversations halted, and all eyes turned to watch as Eliza Harrington, heiress to the Harrington real estate empire, knelt on the floor beside Marcus Wilson's sobbing 6-year-old daughter. No one could hear what Eliza whispered to little Sophie, but when the child's tears transformed into a smile, something shifted in the room. It was the moment that would change everything for two people from worlds that were never meant to collide. If you're moved by stories of unexpected connections that transcend social barriers, hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe for more heartfelt stories that remind us what truly matters in life. Marcus Wilson never expected to be raising his daughter alone. At 34, he juggled his job as a high school history teacher with being both mother and father to Sophie. The death of his wife 3 years ago had left him navigating a world that seemed designed for two-parent households, not widowed fathers trying to keep their heads above water. His morning routine was a carefully choreographed dance of making breakfast, braiding Sophie's hair, never quite right, but improving, packing lunches, and dropping her at school before racing to his own classroom. Evenings were homework, dinner from whatever he could manage to cook, bath time, and bedtime stories. The exhaustion was bone deep, but Sophie's smile made it worthwhile. Across town, Eliza Harrington's mornings began with personal trainers, followed by meetings where millions of dollars changed hands with a simple signature. At 32, she had everything money could buy: a penthouse apartment overlooking the city, designer clothes, exotic vacations, and a corner office in her family's company. What she didn't have was anyone to share it with. Behind her confident smile and sharp business suits, Eliza carried the weight of loneliness. Her wealth created an invisible barrier. People either wanted something from her or assumed she was unapproachable. Dates were calculated moves by men more interested in her bank account than her heart. She'd built walls so high that even she wasn't sure how to scale them anymore. Their worlds collided on a rainy Tuesday evening at Chez Michel, the city's most exclusive restaurant. Eliza was hosting potential investors, the reservation made months in advance. Marcus was there only because Sophie had won a "dinner with your teacher" prize at the school fundraiser, and the restaurant's owner had a soft spot for the school where his own children attended. Sophie had been so excited, wearing her special blue dress with silver stars, her hair adorned with the sparkly clips her mother had given her before she died. Marcus had spent an hour ironing his one good shirt and polishing his worn dress shoes. They were seated in the far corner, clearly out of place among the restaurant's usual clientele. The evening progressed smoothly until Sophie knocked over her water glass. The crash seemed to echo through the restaurant, drawing annoyed glances from nearby tables. Marcus scrambled to help the server clean up, his face flushed with embarrassment. "Daddy, everyone's looking," Sophie whispered, her lower lip trembling. "It's okay, sweetheart. Accidents happen," Marcus reassured her, though he could feel the judgment from the other diners. But then Sophie spotted the butterfly pendant her mother had given her, the one she wore every day, floating in a puddle of water on the floor. When she realized the chain had broken, the tears began in earnest. "Mommy's butterfly. It's broken," she wailed, her small body shaking with sobs that she couldn't control. Marcus felt helpless, aware of the disapproving stares as Sophie's cries grew louder. He knelt beside her, trying to comfort her, but nothing worked. The special evening was crumbling around them. That's when Eliza, seated 3 tables away with her investors, excused herself. Without hesitation, she crossed the restaurant and knelt beside Sophie, her expensive designer dress pooling around her on the damp floor. "May I?" she asked Marcus softly, her eyes kind. Too surprised to speak, he nodded. Eliza gently took Sophie's hand and whispered something in her ear. The child's sobs gradually subsided as she listened intently. Then, to everyone's amazement, Eliza removed her own necklace, a delicate gold chain with a small diamond pendant, and carefully threaded Sophie's butterfly charm onto it. "There," she said, fastening it around Sophie's neck. "Now your mommy's butterfly has a stronger home. Sometimes the most precious things need a little help to stay with us." Sophie touched the pendant reverently. It's even prettier now, she whispered. Just like your smile, Eliza replied. The restaurant had fallen completely silent. Wealthy patrons, servers, even the maitre d', stood transfixed by the scene, a woman who could buy anything in the world giving something irreplaceable to a child she'd never met before. Marcus found his voice at last. Thank you. That necklace must be worth exactly what it just did, Eliza interrupted with a genuine smile. Make a little girl happy. She rose to leave, but Sophie caught her hand. Will you eat with us? Daddy says it's not good to eat alone, and you look like you're with people but still alone. Marcus began to apologize for his daughter's directness, but Eliza laughed, a real laugh that seemed to surprise even her. Out of the mouths of babes, she said. I'd love to join you, if your dad doesn't mind. That evening changed everything. Eliza called her assistant to handle the investors, claiming a family emergency. For 3 hours, she sat with Marcus and Sophie, eating ice cream sundaes and listening to Sophie's stories about school and her friends. For the first time in years, Eliza felt the walls around her heart begin to crumble. Marcus saw beyond the designer clothes and recognized a woman searching for connection just as he was. Their conversation flowed easily, touching on books they both loved, music that moved them, and the challenges of finding your place in the world. As weeks passed, Eliza became a regular visitor at their modest home. She helped Sophie with art projects, laughing as glitter covered her once immaculate clothes. She brought groceries without making Marcus feel like a charity case, instead insisting he teach her to cook since she'd never learned. For her part, Sophie blossomed with Eliza's gentle guidance. The woman who commanded boardrooms spent hours braiding Sophie's hair, teaching her the techniques her own mother had shown her. When Sophie had nightmares about losing her mom, Eliza held her close and shared stories of her own mother, who had died when Eliza was in college. Marcus watched this developing bond with a mixture of gratitude and fear. He was falling in love with Eliza, but their worlds remained fundamentally different. How could a high school teacher with mounting bills and a small house in the suburbs fit into the life of a woman whose family name adorned half the buildings downtown? The crisis came 6 months later when Eliza's father discovered her growing attachment to Marcus and Sophie. Harold Harrington was a man who had built an empire through calculated decisions, and he saw his daughter's relationship as a liability. This is absurd, Eliza, he thundered during a family dinner. You're throwing away everything we've built for some teacher and his kid? What can he possibly offer you? Happiness, she answered simply. Something all your money never bought me. Harold issued an ultimatum: end the relationship or lose her position in the company and her inheritance. For a woman who had defined herself by her work for so long, it was a devastating choice. That night, Eliza drove to Marcus's house in tears. Sophie was already asleep, so they sat on the porch swing, the same one where they'd shared their first kiss 3 months earlier. My father wants me to choose, she explained, her voice breaking. The company or you and Sophie. Marcus took her hand. I would never ask you to give up your life for us. I know how important your work is to you. That's just it, Eliza said, looking up at the stars. Before you and Sophie, my work was my life because I had nothing else. Now I understand there's so much more. The next morning, Eliza walked into her father's office and placed her resignation letter on his desk. You're making a mistake, Harold warned. No, Eliza replied calmly. For the first time, I'm making a choice that's truly mine. She used her savings to start a foundation helping single parents access quality childcare and education resources. The work was more fulfilling than anything she'd done before, and seeing the impact on families like Marcus's gave her purpose beyond profit margins. Marcus struggled with Eliza's sacrifice, worried she would eventually resent giving up her family legacy. But as months passed, he saw her flourish in ways the corporate world had never allowed. Her smile came more easily, her laughter more frequently. She no longer checked her phone constantly or woke in the night with anxiety about meetings. On Sophie's 7th birthday, they took her to the park for a picnic. While Sophie played with friends from school, Marcus took Eliza's hand and led her to a quiet spot beneath an oak tree. "I've been thinking about what you gave up for us," he began. "I didn't give up anything that mattered," she interrupted. "I gained everything." Marcus smiled. "Still, I want you to know that I see you, all of you. Not the wealth or the name, but the woman who knelt on a restaurant floor to comfort a crying child." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Inside was a simple ring with a tiny butterfly charm beside the stone. "Sophie helped me pick it," he explained nervously. "It's not much compared to what you're used to." Eliza placed her fingers against his lips. "It's everything because it's from you." Their wedding was held in the school gymnasium, decorated by Sophie's class with paper flowers and twinkling lights. Harold Harrington didn't attend, but Eliza's mother came, embracing Marcus and Sophie with tears in her eyes. "Thank you for giving my daughter what money never could," she whispered to Marcus during their dance. 3 years later, Harold Harrington suffered a heart attack. From his hospital bed, he finally asked to meet the family his daughter had chosen. Sophie, now 9, approached her grandfather without hesitation, showing him her butterfly necklace and telling him stories about school. "She has your determination," Harold told Eliza weakly. "And Marcus's kindness," Eliza added, watching her husband gently help her father with his water. Before he was discharged, Harold made changes to his will and company structure. He couldn't undo the years of absence, but he could acknowledge the family his daughter had built. More importantly, he saw what Eliza had discovered that night in the restaurant, that true wealth isn't measured in bank accounts but in the courage to kneel beside someone in pain. Today, Eliza and Marcus run the foundation together, helping families bridge the gaps that society often ignores. Sophie, now a teenager, volunteers after school, showing the same compassion that brought her family together. Their story began with a broken necklace and a moment of silence that spoke volumes. It continues with the understanding that sometimes the richest people are those who have nothing but give everything, and sometimes the most valuable things we can offer each other cost nothing at all. If this story touched your heart, remember that kindness doesn't require wealth, just the willingness to see beyond differences and recognize our shared humanity. Like, subscribe, and share this message with someone who needs to hear it today.